I'm very happy to introduce Candy. Candy, I met in 2019 when she moved here from Kansas, and I was chair of the League of Women Voters Local Issues Committee. And Candy was a great help joining our committee and being able to discuss all our local issues. Tremendous number of local issues. I was snowed by them all. but but it was great to meet Candy when she came. Candy uh, is from Kansas, as I said, and she has been a high school administrator and teacher for many years, and with the league for many years also. So she came to Florida in 2019 and plugged right in with our league and has been a great asset to us. So I'm very happy to have her talk today about the League of Women Voters issues and resources for the vote this year. So Candy, would you like to take over?
Thank you, Jeff. I mean, I am forever grateful to Jeff for being the person who connected me to the league, and he probably has downplayed his leadership in that organization. So I want to make sure that you know he's awesome as well. I will tell you that being here since 2019, the first thing I did after I, got my driver's license and registered to vote was found the League of Women Voters. And because I feel like many of you, I'm going to guess, already know that it's a trusted source for information. And the league since 1920, I mean, that's older than me, but not much. Since 1920, I mean, 1920, the league has been all about being nonpartisan, which means we don't do candidates and we don't do parties, but we are very political. And that's why we're here, because there's a lot of political stuff going on that don't have to do with a specific candidate or a specific party. So our job in the league has always been to I need to put this up closer to my mouth. Our job has always been to educate and then, if needed, advocate. And we don't advocate until we know all the facts. I mean, oh my gosh, there's such a process. So I'm just going to let you know that we are here to get you going. And I tend to go a little fast. So if I need to slow down, somebody do something and let me know. So if you wouldn't mind, go to the next slide. I have to remember that we have slides. And Holden, thank you so much. That's what that is all about. And so we're all about helping people know and advocate. So next slide, please. All right. So you already know that Florida has elections every 2 years. Most of the politicians have 8-year limits. They meet 60 days every. But the most important thing I want you to notice out of this slide has to do with the composition of the Florida legislature, because that comes in and that becomes important as we go through these amendments and stuff. So you can see 28 Republic. I mean, there's a super majority of that. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so you already know about, Constitution set up the rules and the basic rights. And in Florida, and it's been this way for a long, long time, if you want to change the Constitution, you have to have a super majority of 60%. In some places, it's like 50% plus one person. In Florida, it's 60%. And I don't think I have a problem with that. I think it lets us know that we have a real majority. But it doesn't do like our Constitution of the United States. It has all those amendments at the end. There's that original stuff, and at the end, no, in Florida, the Constitution, if an amendment passes, it gets embedded into the Constitution, and they change it or add or subtract or do whatever. So that's the reason it's a little bit different here in Florida. I just learned that. So next slide, please. Okay, so if there's many ways to get a ballot. I mean, a constitutional amendment on the ballot. And the two that we need to worry about are the two that are up here. So if you see something on the ballot from the legislature, it means that 60% or 3/5 of the House and 3/5 of the Senate, they said, yes, let's put it on the ballot. Okay. So there are 4 of them on this of 6 of the 6, 4 of them come from the legislature. Then the other ones are the citizens initiatives. And I have to tell you, I Kansas didn't have a citizens initiative. There are only 18 states that have citizens initiatives. And it's kind of the progressive nature of Florida, in my mind, that you even have it, and only 18 states can say, we want something on the ballot. We already know we did that with returning citizens who had been incarcerated. We've done that with the fair wage, the minimum wage thing has done it that way. I think most recently might be the medical marijuana one that got passed because of the citizens initiative. And this time, all we know is that, this number is embedded in my brain. 891, 523 petitions had to be signed and by verified voters. Well, to tell you the truth, the two that are on here have well beyond that number. They're they all, but both of them got over 1 million. And that makes me happy because once again, it says that there are people who care enough to sign a petition. Next slide, please. All right, now I'm going to stop right there because this is a team effort. And I want to introduce you to Paula Davis. And she is another member of the Speakers Bureau of League of Women Voters. And she's going to do amendments 1 through 4. And we've already kind of talked through with David Hastings and myself. I'm going to try to be quiet, but we're going to talk through that. And you can just tell him, tell Holden when you need to change the slide. I'll take mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. I think I'm going to stand. My name is Paula Davis. I am very new to the league. So this is one of my first discussions. So bear with me. I'm a little nervous. I've done my little bit of research as I can and trying to make this as brief as possible. So I like to really read through the wording of these amendments because they do make a difference. So this amendment says right here, well, I'm going to go by my reading. It says proposing, let's go to the next slide. Let's see what the next slide says. That's all right. I got it. It says proposing amendments to the state constitution to require members of a district school board to be elected in a partisan election rather than nonpartisan election, and to specify that the amendment only applies to elections held on or after November 2026 for the general election. So briefly, right now, we have school boards are currently nonpartisan. That means all registered voters, no matter their party affiliation, can currently vote for the school board. All right. And their choice in the primary and the general elections. In addition, candidates for school board races, like candidates for all nonpartisan offices, are currently prohibited from campaigning based on party affiliation. So right now, there's no party affiliation for the school board. The elections in 1998, when the voters approved the amendment, got 64% of the vote. I'm losing you. I know that. Okay, so the majority of the states have nonpartisan school boards. So across the United States, the school boards are nonpartisan. All right. This has to do with whether you are able to vote for someone that is non-party affiliation in the primaries and then in the general elections. So if you have someone who's nonpartisan and they decide they want to go up for the school board, if this passes, you will not be allowed to vote for them in the primaries. So they won't get on the ballot. Am I right?
Voted in the primary. Okay, so if you know that you have to be a Democrat to vote in the Democratic, that kind of stuff. So it might sort of be. Yes. So if you were voting, if we went to partisan, you were all able to vote for you were able to vote. We passed Leetta McNeely and Thomas Vu. They got voted in onto the school board at that. And that was open to both parties and nonpartisan. And there are about 4 million people who are nonpartisan. So just to let you know, so if we went to a partisan thing, it would require this stuff on the screen.
Right. So from my view, it makes this exclusionary. If we were to apply this, it would be exclusionary. All right. All right, I'm sorry, because this is the first time I'm doing this one, so please bear with me. Yeah, so the school, it would make a partisan school board, and it would exclude MPAs from voting in primaries and increase political polarization. So the supporters of this would say that the school board, if you voted yes, that the elections to partisan elections beginning in 2020, requiring the candidate's political party to be designated on the ballot and triggering closed primary elections. And then a no vote would maintain the status quo. So that's pretty simple. So my two questions for you would be, ask yourself who benefits from this amendment, and who in your family, you or your family would benefit from this amendment. Simple question to ask yourself. All right, this one I'm a little bit more familiar with, so I'm better. I'll be better. So here we go. Amendment 2. Amendment 2 reads, proposing an amendment to the state constitution to preserve forever fishing and hunting, including the use of traditional methods as a public right and preferred means of responsibly managing, controlling fish and wildlife. Okay, so let's tear that apart just a little bit. And we'll say, what is the preferred means of responsibly managing and controlling fish and wildlife? What this amendment is asking is to maintain the preferred method, which is not necessarily the a healthy method. All right, I'm getting very nervous. I'm sorry. I'm getting very nervous. So what I've come up with here is if we were to look at what the preferred method is, which is traditional method, the traditional method is to use gill nets, steel traps, and there's 3, I'm sorry, and spear fishing. So those are considered traditional methods of hunting and fishing. So that's what we want to put in the amendment. We want to use that as our preferred method of managing wildlife. The other methods would be a science-based methods of controlling wildlife, which is habitat modification, population monitoring, regulating hunting and fishing, contraceptive methods, which includes there's techniques to fencing, repellents, relocation. So there's other ways. There are other ways to do this. Now, what's in it to pass this? What's in it is a very large sum of money for the hunting and fishing industry. That's what would be in it for the yes vote for this. The opponents, well, they'll disregard the science-based methods. They'll maintain the traditional methods, and the potential for interference on private property is possible. And the supporters, excuse me, I'm sorry, vice versa. If you were to say yes for this, it maintains the right to fish and hunt. It declares the fishing and hunting as the preferred means of controlling, and it supersedes the non-lethal means for managing wildlife. Okay, I think I got that right. Okay. Yep, we have a man that's probably much better versed at this than I am, although I think I've made some pretty good points. Got more?
Hi there, folks. I'm David Hastings. I'm the political chair of the local Sierra Club. I'm also a marine geochemist, so I've got a scientific background, a relatively recent resident of Gainesville. Love this town. It's really wonderful. Here we are in Florida. It's fantastic. So this kind of, I'm an active member of the Sierra Club, and we just dumped $50,000 into this campaign on a statewide basis because we're so concerned about it. We already have the right to hunt and fish. We have the right to hunt and fish. This is unnecessary, and it's also of great concern to folks who care about the environment. So there are two aspects of it that are of great concern. First of all, we can, if this vote passes, we can use some heinous ways of hunting and fishing, which include traps, which don't kill the animal, but they restrict its movement. So the animal, you've seen these images, they're horrific. Right. So this is unnecessary and bad. I'm an oceanographer, and it also uses gill nets to catch the fish, which will harm the population of endangered species. So these two methods are painful and it's unnecessary. And the other perspective is that when we manage species, scientists do it in a way that's informed, as opposed to hunting and fishing, which is not informed. And this amendment says that population should be controlled not by the methods that we understand well and rely on, but instead to have somebody come and shoot or kill the animal. So that is not an effective way of managing populations. It also will impact our natural environments, spaces that are where nobody's allowed to fish or hunt. There's a reason for that, because we're trying to manage populations. So these environmental regions where that's not permitted, there's a reason for that. And so we want to keep those scientific methods going. The good news is that the bar is very high at 60%. At this point, the latest polling is that 52% approve, so that doesn't reach the bar, but we all need to go out and vote no on 2. It's a confusing amendment because we want to have the right to hunt and fish, but don't worry, kids, we already have that. We do not need to pass this amendment, which is funded by the NRI and other hunting and fishing groups. That's me in brief. Thanks.
I am so grateful that David Hastings was here from Sierra Club. What we know is that the League of Women Voters has not come up with a position on this. So remember, we're nonpartisan, and unless we have done all that studying that the Sierra Club has done, which I appreciate, so he can speak to you on his views. They don't necessarily represent, this sounds like a television commercial. They don't necessarily represent the views of the League of Women Voters, because we do not have a position on this one. We do have a position on the first one about nonpartisan. We recommend voting no. And just before I hand it back to Paula, I want to make sure that you know that we have these little worksheets that have, if you want to, I have some of those and some cards and stuff that you can pick up either now or later. Thank you. All right, Paula.
Statewide has taken a position on this to vote no, but the Alachua Democratic Party has not taken a position on this, which concerns me, but they're neutral on it. So the Alachua County DEC has not taken a position on this. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't, it's still an important vote. Thank you.
So those are the people who support.
Society.
These are the people who support and oppose Amendment 2. All right. So just to let you know. These are the people who organizations, not all of them, but organizations that support Amendment 2 and oppose Amendment 2. So just to let you know, sometimes that informs your vote a little bit, right? Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll go now to, are we ready for Amendment 3?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so it reads, Amendment 3 allows adults 21 years or older to possess, purchase, or use marijuana products and marijuana accessories for non-medical personal consumption by smoking, ingestion, otherwise, and it allows the treatment centers state licensed entities to acquire, cultivate, process, manufacture, sell, and distribute such products and accessories. Okay, so that's a mouthful. So right now, there's medical marijuana. So what they're trying to do here is to make non-medical possession not okay. Presently, non-medical is illegal. So what we're trying to do is legalize. This is very simple. I'm not going to complicate this. So what we're trying to do is make it legal, make use and sale legal. Now, the implications of this would be sales tax. So we come down to sales tax. So now we make it legal. We sell it over the counter. We get sales tax. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. And how much sales tax do we get? You ready? Okay, based on other states' experiences, expected retail sales of non-medical marijuana would generate between 195 and $431 million annually in state and local sales tax. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Now, one of the things that I've read is that violent crime in states where marijuana has been legalized has dropped 12.5%. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
It's just no longer criminal, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So there's a lot of supporters here. I don't want to belabor this point. I think this is pretty simple. We distribute, we collect taxes. As far as a lot of studies have been not in a lot of poor feedback. Okay, there'll still be restrictions. Okay, from smoking marijuana and vaping on state beaches, so we should not interfere with that. So you can see who benefits here, or who might benefit from supporting or opposing. The league takes no position on this.
I really love this slide because that True Leave organization, they have all the medical marijuana ones. And so, and the rule right now is that it would be medical marijuana dispensaries would be also doing the dispensing of the personal one. So True Leave has spent over $50 million on this particular thing. I love the juxtaposition of the two bottom ones. The Florida Young Republicans are all over marijuana, but the Florida Republican Party is not. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, how do we know? Yes. That I tried to find that. I saw that was a thing, but I just can't imagine the enforcement of that. So I don't know. I don't know. If anybody does know, please let me know. Okay, thank you. If you'll go forward.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a big one. This is a big one. And this was a initiative that was put up on the ballot by the public. So obviously it's something that the public wants to address seriously. So I'm a digger, so let's read. No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's health care provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. Have I covered all these things? Yes, I have. Thank you. So the proposed amendment states that the government cannot interfere with a woman's decision to have an abortion up to viability. Now, viability, okay, it means, as defined by the Florida statute 1019, viability means a stage of fetal development when the life of a fetus is sustainable outside the womb through standard medical measures.
But 24 weeks is
24
is the
Yep. Getting to do
general
that in the
idea,
third-
which is
in the
back
third-
to job
third
services.
trimester.
Yeah.
Yep, got it.
Back to Roe v. Wade.
This was a citizens initiative, like I've already explained. So what would a yes vote mean? I don't know if you want me to go through all of that. Go forward. Yes vote means that we will have the women will have a constitutional right to abortion before fetal viability, and it maintains parental notification requirements. All right. A no maintains the status quo, which is a 6-week abortion ban in Florida. We definitely have a position on this, and that is yes. So that's my portion of this presentation.
And I thank you so much, Paula. You know that if you've ever had to do a research study, a research paper, you know that you learn so much, and then you have to figure out what the heck are we going to put into the paper, and that's what we have. Thank goodness the state of Florida League of Women Voters gave us a lot of stuff, but we couldn't possibly get it all done in one day. So we're just kind of deciding what to share. So thank you so much, Paula. Okay, so if you'll go to the next slide, please. This one is amendment. I'm sorry. Let's do this one real quick. I'm sorry. I love this one because it has another one of those juxtapositions, right? So if you look at the bottom there, it says Catholics for choice, because there's a new study that says about 69% of practicing and non-practicing Catholics are in favor of yes on 4. All right. But as you can see, the Florida Conference on Catholic Bishops is saying no. Nothing that it would be there that you would expect. So yes, the League of Women Voters of Florida is in favor of voting yes on this. Okay, next slide, please. All right, this one, oh my gosh, I had no idea about all of this stuff. So thank you for, this makes it easy for me to kind of learn some new stuff. So the Homestead Inflation Act, this is again put forth not by the citizens, but by the legislature, okay? And it will tell you that basically they want to tie it to what is known as the Consumer Product or Prices Index, right? It's an inflation index, and it would be made every once in a while. But I will tell you, I put it in red there because we do have this thing called Save Our Homes Act of 1995 that says that assessed value of homesteaded properties cannot go up over 3%. So that's kind of a thing that we have there. So next slide, please. Just to kind of give you a little bit of history, and I had to figure this out because I'm not a numbers person, but the way I figure it is, no matter how what the price value of your house is, whether it's whatever it is, if you apply for a homestead exemption, you get $25,000 off right off the bat. So let's say I have a $100,000 home, I apply for that homestead exemption. Now the appraised value is $75,000, and that's what my city or local ordinances will tax me on my property tax. If that number then becomes between 50 and 75, you get an additional $25,000 off as an exemption. And I will tell you that that's that. And then in 2022, just last year, it was, I don't know if you remember, it was on the ballot. It says, oh, let's give another $50,000 exemption to EMTs and teachers and law enforcement. And you can see there that it didn't pass. It was very close, but it did not pass. So because there's a 60% majority. And now I'm thinking, maybe that was, now we have something to think about. So next slide, please. All right. So if you're on a yes vote, you're going to adjust it every year, not just every year you get 25,000 or 50,000. Now it's going to adjust by the rate of inflation. And then if you vote no, there's no inflation rate. And then here are some of the things I put in this little stuff in the bottom, and you don't necessarily have to read it, but the people who say yes say, well, this will be an additional savings to homeowners. However, once again, on the people who say no, they say, well, our Save Our Home Act already caps it at 3%. They're already saying that there are, and you'll see this on your little form. If you're a low-income senior, if you are if you are the widow of if you're a widower, if you're a veteran, if you a deployed military, spouse of a deceased first responder, so there are all kinds of exemptions that already can come to you in addition to the $25,000 home exemption. So there is one of the things that talks about here is possibly the negative impact on local governments. Oh my goodness, this is where the research comes into play, because there's been a recent study that says this could immediately mean something like $32 million of impact on your on your cities and counties. All right, so the state, let's say they pass marijuana, they're going to get all kinds of state sales tax, right? Sales tax that will go to things like social services, education, transportation, maybe. But the cities and local governments, how do they get their money? Property taxes is a big deal, right? So if you start lowering the amount of money that people pay in property taxes, one of the concerns here is, does that also have an effect on the services? You have a police department, you have a Parks and Rec, you have all of these things that the counties and the cities, do. So you want to be careful. That's the concern, that there may be a possible impact on that. And I will tell you that I think that one of the recent studies indicated that it could mean as much as $111 million in impact to local governments, that kind of thing. So, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm confused about one thing. So if this passes, it's a good thing for local governments?
I'm not allowed to say, but but I will tell you that the concern is, if you vote no, they are saying that if you vote no, then maybe there won't be a negative impact on local government revenues. And if you vote no, that you're not really harming the people that they say they are going to help. So that's the yes and no. Yeah. So that's the concern, is that if you vote no, you may be, there may be an impact on your local government. Huh?
I'm
Oh,
confused.
yeah. Oh, I said that wrong. How can I do that to you? I am so sorry. Yes. So if you vote yes, this is what the legislature wants you to do. The legislature wants you to vote yes on this, so that they're saying that your homestead exemption will go down or up according to inflation.
So,
Okay.
so they might be for it because it doesn't affect their income. It just affects the local government's income.
Well, if you're a state legislature, you're making money through sales tax,
Right.
not property taxes, right? Right. Yeah.
Completely.
Gotcha. Thank you for asking, because, oh my gosh, I don't want to confuse anybody. But the another thing that was interesting about this, as we were looking at this, is that there's some concern that if you vote yes, then there's a possibility that there will be an impact on renters' leases. Okay, because if you're well, here's the thing. I thought the very same thing. The Homestead Act doesn't have anything to do. There are 10 million homesteaders in Florida, right? And they're the only ones who pay a property tax. But there are a lot of people who own property, and they're not subject to the 3%. They're not subject to the 3% cap. And there's some concern. And again, there's some concern that the renters will have higher rents because the property owners will pass on any extra process to that. And let's just say that. Let's just say, okay, I'm a county official. Now my revenue has gone down because we have lowered the property taxes. Now, what am I going to do to raise money to keep the services? I'm going to raise the mill levy, possibly, right? And so if the mill levy goes up, what will the landlords do? They will pass on that amount of extra. I mean, that's a scenario, that a what if scenario. It is not a done deal scenario, but that's the concern, is that if you vote yes, it's possible that it will have some effect on the 2.5 million renters in the state who are already cost burdened, right? So that's a concern.
Okay, my question is your slide backwards? Because
Yes.
doesn't this go over there and this go over there?
Yes.
This go there and this go there.
Okay. I will tell you that there's no legislature who would want to bring up the topic of negative impact on local governments, and no legislature, and they want you to vote yes. Yeah. Oh, so it should say avoids possible. It should say avoids possible. Exactly. I love this.
If I may,
Exactly, exactly.
if I may, the slide is wrong.
I should have used the word.
If the amendment passes, let's be real, we will always have inflation.
Mhm.
So it means that every year, the homestead exemption amount will go up, which means all else being equal, property taxes will go down. That will then starve the county governments, right? And it impacts further down the road for us renters and so forth. That's a whole muddy issue about how rents are, but the slide is wrong.
The wording is so wrong.
And
It should
because-
say a vote no would avoid possible
Right.
negative
And-
impact, and it would avoid the possibility of higher rate.
kudos to
That
the-
verb is a big deal.
Kudos to the group that they have to be nonpartisan. So they can't come out in favor or opposed to it, but the impact is I'm voting against it.
So just to understand so if you vote yes, in a way, a lot of people would vote yes in order to pay lower taxes, in a way, but then you have a collective implication. So it's a trade-off between individual benefit and maybe collective benefits. Can we say that?
Yes, yes. And I apologize that I didn't put the important verbs on there. Those verbs need to be there, and I apologize for that. So I need to get that fixed, and I will do that as soon as I leave this room. And so I will tell you that again, a state analysis found that local governments, excluding school districts, because exemptions don't apply to school districts, would be more than 111 millions annually by 2028. That's a lot of money for your local governments to make up for. And that may, okay, so just to let you know that. And I'm so sorry. Let's go to the next one, please. I think this is important to note that this one is, again, pretty much through party line voting. The legislature put it on, and then there are people who are the people who are against it. Okay. So now let's go to Amendment 6. Okay, so this one is another interesting one. This one, the league does have a point, has a position on it, and the league says vote no on this. Okay, so the league says vote no on 1, vote no on 6, and so this one has to do with the state public funding of people who are running for office statewide. That would be the governor, and I think it says here, the governor, the chief financial officer, the attorney general, and the commission of agriculture. If you decide to take public funds, you have to do all kinds of stuff that's listed here. Next slide, please. And then it will tell you that back in 1998, we decided let's help people run for office statewide. It's a big state, that kind of thing. So 64% said let's do it. And then in 2010, the legislature tried to get rid of it, but it failed to meet that. So the legislature put it up, and the citizens said no. And then for a little piece of information, last election 2022, there's a funding, like $1 for this, $2 for that, per voter, whatever. But the budget was 45 million. The actual expenditure was actually 13 million. So it's a pretty minuscule amount of money. So keep going, please. And so if you vote yes, it means that we're getting rid of public funding for anybody who is running statewide office. And if you vote no, you're maintaining this amount of money. I don't know if I have another piece of information there. Okay. And so here are the supporting organizations. Once again, pretty much party line on the legislature. And then, of course, here you see the League of Women Voters and all of the people who say vote no on this one. Okay. All right. Next. All right. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry that we're going so slowly, but I want to be sure that we talk about the 3 local referendum that are on the ballot. So I'm going to share the screen, share a little bit with this, but let's go to the next slide, please. All right. I'm not going to read all of this, but basically you can see how many people are in each of the districts. This year, you may not find a county commissioner on your ballot if you live in 2, 4, or 5. I live in 5, but my person is and opposed. And so, so there would be a county commissioner on the ballot for District 1 and a county commissioner on the ballot for District 3. Because back in, and if you'll go one more slide, please. There was this big deal 2 years ago. And I don't know if any of you remember this. Okay. So we've always done this thing where it's at-large districts. You have to live in a certain district. So you're kind of representing that district. Everybody in the county votes on whether to be on the county commission, right? And that's the way it was until the election of 2022. And then State Representative Chuck Clements in Tallahassee sponsored a bill that forced Alachua County to hold an election to go to single member districts. And the thought was, well, it has something to do with racial equity, that kind of thing. So back in 2022, there was pretty controversial media dump at the very last minute. You may remember getting a big postcard that looks like that. The concern was that all of a sudden, all of these things happened very close to the election. There were things on here, and you know, I still can see the videos. There were people who were represented on there who had not been consulted to whether they could be on there. They said things about single member districts that had nothing to do with Alachua County. It has everything to do with the city of Gainesville. And then they even implied, this card implied that the NAACP was involved with it. So a big deal, and it passed. Okay. And so that's the reason why there are, elections in just two districts. Well, people were at such, we still do not know who sponsored all of this. There's no real, nobody has taken credit for this media dump and all of that kind of stuff. And so people went to the Board of County Commissioners and they said, it was such a last minute thing. It was so much misinformation. Can we at least get it on the ballot now? Can we at least get it on the ballot now to be sure that this is what Alachua Countyans want? And so now you have an amendment, you have a referendum that's on your ballot that has to do with going back to what we call at-large voting districts. Next slide, please. So if you say yes, then you get rid of the single member districts. If you say yes, then candidates can get onto the ballot with petitions from all over the county. If you say yes, every single person who is a voter in Alachua County will vote on the election of every district, no matter what. Okay.
Andy, I have a question.
Yes.
So is this only a 50% margin for vote?
I believe so. I don't think this is not a supermajority kind of thing. All right. At least I have not heard one thing about, 50% plus one,
Yeah, it's
plus 1%.
statewide.
Yeah. Amendments statewide, you have to have a supermajority, right? Because it affects everybody in the state. Yes. Tell you that the league has taken the yes position on all three of the local amendments. So, and we have this card over there. I don't know if anybody has that. I want you to take this and take as many as you want and do that. But yes, we have a position on yes. If you would please say that this way there wasn't a District 5 opponent. So keep going. And then this is the wording of it. Shall the 5 members of the Board of County Commissioners of Alachua County be elected by all electors within the county at large? Okay. And so we recommend a yes vote. The League of Women Voters of Alachua County and the NAACP support it because they feel like, it's one thing to have single member districts in a tight area like like Gainesville, but it's a different story when you're talking about trying to find a majority minority district in Alachua County because we're all over. And so here it is where the idea is that they say we should vote yes to go back to the way it was. Okay, so next slide, please. I'm hoping that all of you are familiar with this. This has been in place since 2008. It is the renewal of the 1 mill levy. I'm not going to go into much about this except that, if you'll go one more slide and then another slide. boy, are there a lot of good reasons to vote yes on the 1 mil levy. I mean, we know that schools in general are, in trouble. We know that we don't have any more federal funding coming from the pandemic. We know that 20%, that's a lot of teachers, get part of their or all of their salary from this 1 mil levy. We also know that it helps us get people like nurses and technology. I have a laptop, but I would be nothing without my IT support called my son. All right. So you not only need the technology, but you also need the support for that technology. And this particular thing takes care of that. So obviously, renters do not pay this amount. It is only through homeowners. It's basically about $14 a month. And we also know that good schools mean so much to our communities, right? We need them because we want our kids to have a good education. We need them because we want them to grow up and become good citizens of Alachua County. And we also know that good schools attract business, and that's a good thing. So that's what that's all about. So we hope that the league hopes that you will vote yes. Next slide, please. Yes, yes, yes. Well, apparently,
What
then
was,
this,
what was the question?
what the question is, why haven't we gotten lottery money? And I did mention that on that slide. I will tell you that I believe most of the money that comes from the lottery goes to something called Bright Futures, so that's not, in the actual, and apparently they used to get some money, but they have everything that I've read on the website says that they haven't gotten any money. So I think nationwide, everybody understands that it might have started out as being, oh, let's do this for education. Nobody seems to believe that any school district has benefited, any public school district has benefited from that. So there's that. So any other question about that, please? Yes, yeah.
So this applies to public schools, not to charter schools.
Yes.
Does
Yeah,
Is that
it's a public school. It's the Alachua County Public School System. And they have a lot of accountability. If you go online, you'll be able to find exactly how that money's been spent. I love that fact. There's a lot of transparency. They have a review every single year. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
A full-time librarian in every school. And I was in a situation where I was put, okay. The 1 mil was supposed to support a full-time librarian in every school. I was a school librarian with the Alachua County School Board that was put half-time at 2 schools. I brought it up about the 1 mil and I got put back at 1 school full-time, but the other school still only had a half-time librarian. How do you do half-time librarian?
I totally understand. Being a former administrator in a school, we know the importance of librarians. And I will tell you that all proposals are aspirational. And I'm going to tell you, I think that schools are just generally underfunded anyway. But the idea was that was the goal, was to have a librarian in every school. All right. So I don't know the ins and outs of that. And again, we always have to remember there are individual anecdotes that need to be erased.
Well, I contacted the school board about being halftime at both schools and said, do we need to check the oversight committee for the 1 mil?
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I'm back full time. So
speaking up is a big deal. I mean,
but-
advocacy works, right? If you're
but the other
talking
school only had a halftime librarian and they
Yeah.
had a hard time finding somebody that only wanted to work halftime.
I got you. I understand that. Thank you for that, because that's important information. All right. And that's the thing about elected officials. If you were on the school board, you're an elected official. All right. And and if you're Democrat, if you have to now all of a sudden say, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, that's the reason why the league is against going to partisan elections. But if you have elected officials, your job is to make them accountable to you, the voter. And so if they don't hear from you, they won't know that there's a problem. Okay. So that's good. So now I know that David Hastings has some information, but I'm going to give my part on this, and then I know that he'll have something else to say, because even though, I mean, we're nonpartisan, this one we have we voted, we did this consensus thing, and this is what we have said. So I'm going to just go quickly. next slide, please. I don't know if any of you know Bobby Murmer. He's from the Alachua County Labor Coalition. He did this wonderful presentation. So he let me borrow this slide. And just to let you know, I mean, that there's, lots of ways that you can run a utility. One's for profit, one's kind of a cooperative, and the one that we have is called the municipal one. And that last line, I think, is a little bit political on his part. But now we have the state of Florida owning GRU. So next slide, please. All right, so you don't have to read all of this timeline. You do not have to do it because a lot of good things have happened as a result. But if you kind of scan down to 2017, 2018, right, there was a kind of a home rule vote if you were around, and that the idea was we wanted, there was a ballot that was put on the ballot, and 60% of the voters said, no, we want home rule. We want our elected officials, the officials that we elect, to be the deciders of how that will be run. Now, I will tell you, okay, never mind. I almost said something political. Okay, so then in 2023, State Representative Chuck Clemens and State Senator Keith Perry in Tallahassee decided that we need to hand over, had a bill passed that handed over the authority to a government. And I still remember you being one of the presenters to our delegation. We had a lot of people who went up there to talk to just our Alachua County delegations. I didn't get a sense that many of them were listening to you, and they obviously did not go with your plan. But the idea was that so now the legislatures have said, we have now, the governor is now the one who is in charge of appointing the people who are on the GRU authority. So they are accountable to no one except the governor, right? They are not accountable to the electorate. Here we go. Here we go. I just love the fact that I did not know we were going to be on Zoom. So I have a face for radio, not television, so I'm really worried. So go ahead.
How will the outcome of this vote affect the reality of our utilities?
Well, you know what? I am going to, because I'm not the expert, and David Hastings says that he knows quite a bit about it. And so I'm going to allow him. But remember, he is representing somebody who is not the league, although we do have a position on this. But I will tell you, I was there when the city commission said, let's put it on the ballot. People were at the public comments, making comments about this. Let's get it on the ballot. Let's make sure that our voters know what to do. So do you want to talk now?
Sure, I'm happy to. First of all, the league does such a good job. Let's congratulate the league for the fantastic work that they do. It's really invaluable to have a nonpartisan voice. So that is extraordinarily important so that everybody's on board. So thanks for your voice in that. The Sierra Club used to be nonpartisan, and then back a long time ago, decades ago, we took positions. And so we have a 501c3 and a C4. So if you donate money to our General Sierra Club, it's not tax deductible, and we are clearly partisan. And we take a really clear position on this. As you know, Sierra Club is about the environment, and about climate is the intersection of climate and the environment is very, very clear now. And we care tremendously about the climate and the current, to back up a little bit, what you were saying about the history of GRU, we own our utility. We are the owners of our utility. And this is not a mistake. This is not some coincidence. 100 years ago, we realized what the beauty of owning our utility is, because that way the profits from the utility don't go to wealthy investors, but instead it goes back into the city to fund police, firefighters, our parks. So this is a way that smart cities have of running our utilities. Orlando does it, Jacksonville does it, Seattle does it. Smart cities do this. Unfortunately, there are these investor-owned utilities, and they really want the clients of GRU, they really want the customers. So they've been itching to get hold of GRU. I had lunch with Mayor Ward about a year and a half ago, and he said that the head of an investor-owned utility said, we want these clients. So this is the effort that the governor's making to take control of our municipal utility is intentional. And eventually, we strongly believe that they're going to degrade GRU so much that eventually an investor-owned utility will take it over, and that's the end of this really great relationship we have with our municipal utility. So at this point, the folks who have been appointed by the governor really are not allowed to care about climate or any policy things that's written in the law. So the city commissioners are making an effort to take back control, to take local control of our utility, take back control, and that will allow all the climate initiatives that have happened in Gainesville over the last 5 years. It's not a coincidence that our governor is trying to take back control, because we're doing a very good job of mitigating climate here in town. So we have a goal of being net zero, or actually 100% renewable by 2045. The Republicans just clearly don't like that. And as somebody concerned about climate, I care about that a lot. So that's the brief thing. I'm going to answer a few questions, but before your question, growing weed in Florida, it's against the law. It's a felony. We did try, there was a group that tried to make it legal to grow marijuana in your home, but nobody profits from that. And they didn't get the 800,000 signatures they need, 8% of the population of Florida. They didn't get the number of signatures they needed. So good question. Yeah.
Okay. I think you did not really address my question.
I didn't mean to.
That's
Ask
okay.
your question and I'm happy to
All right.
ask it.
My
Answer it.
question is, if we have already voted in Gainesville to support a local control, but the state took it over anyway. If we vote again to assert local control, what difference will that make? I mean, not that, I mean, I'm going to vote for it, but will it make any difference? Will the state still impose its will on our utility?
So this is where the lawyers come in. This is where the people that have law degrees who understand who has control over the city of Gainesville. And I think Jeff would agree that there's a difference of opinion here. The state believes they have a control of the city, and the city believes they have control over the city. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm a lawyer, but my understanding is that in the city, we have control of our city government, and GRU is part of the city government. So, but we'll see. It's very possible that the courts will rule just like they rule federal courts who are influenced by partisan folks. You know, this is a challenging time. This is the best job we can do. I sure wish I could guarantee you that the city controls the city, but it will certainly make a difference. It may be that at some point the state asserts control over the city and kind of squeezes us. I sure hope that doesn't happen. That's correct.
Thank
I
you.
want to say one more thing. There's a wonderful little TikTok video. I'm not addicted to TikTok yet, but it's got like 150,000 views at this point, and it's about the statewide referendums. If you go in to vote, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes on Florida amendments. Yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes. It's a cute little video. It's all these high school girls who are doing it. It's wonderful. Did I say it the wrong? See, I got your attention. Got your attention. One more thing. This is the last thing on your ballot. It's very common, just like some folks have left this, it's very common for people not to finish the ballot. They get tired, they get voter fatigue. So encourage your friends to stick around to the end of the ballot. It's really important. Go to the very end of the ballot. And thanks again for the league for doing such great work.
Okay, I'm almost done. I mean, oh my gosh, some people get a microphone, they can't give it up. But I mean, that's me, and I'm so sorry I can't give up this microphone. This is the ballot. This is my ballot, all right? But I noticed that I don't have a Florida State representative, a Florida State senator, or an Alachua County. So it's a little bit longer, but honestly, it's less than 25 races. But now that you're an informed voter, it won't take you long, and you can take in your material. So I am going to go flying through this. Ready? Holden's on it. Ready? Go 1. We're flying. Are we flying? Okay, so you already know this. You have this card. You're going to share it with everybody you know, because honestly, it's about how many people you know about. So next slide. You know that there's 3 ways to vote. Next slide. Vote411.org is huge, and especially in Alachua County, we have a lot of information on the table. I want you to take as much as you want. Please go there. You put in your address, and there's so much there. Next slide. You know that if you vote by mail, my vote by mail has already been counted. Oh my goodness. But the most important thing to remember is that you definitely, some people, they mark their ballots, they put it in the secrecy sleeve, they put it in the envelope, they seal it, and then they mail it. What's wrong with that picture? They didn't sign it, and they didn't put their contact information. And if you didn't sign it, there's no way to count your ballot. So people have made. And I asked. We have a member who is actually works for the SOE, and he says there are 2 ways that people don't get their ballots counted. One, it doesn't get there in time. All right, and the second one is they don't sign the ballot. Yes, Izzy. Isabel. Oh, here we go. I don't know where the microphone is. There you go.
A lot of people are stressing about the mail. You can carry your ballot your VBM into the SOE office. And right now they're doing it.
Next slide. Next slide.
Right there. And a lot of people I call are doing that. So if you're nervous about the mail, take it right in or take it to the drop box at the early voting sites.
So here we go. And so I'm going to go quickly through that because it addresses just exactly what Isabel's talking about. Oh,
And there's
sorry, I apologize.
There's 2 weeks of early voting. I've been a poll worker there. It's really slow. There's no lines. You have all the time you want to fill out the long ballot.
And that friendly face.
And then I don't want to scare you away. And you get scanned right then. You see it happens. So you don't have to worry about the signatures or mail and whatever. So I promote the early voting. It's easy and low traffic.
So here are those locations, but I'm going to tell you, if you have a mail-in ballot, every one of those locations has a drop box. So you don't have to, if you don't want to go in and vote, you can take it to any one of these. And boy, are those convenient locations that you could take it and it starts a week from Monday. So next slide, please. We have a lot of precincts. Next slide, please. Remember, I think all of you know about being in line by 7 o'clock, but I will tell you some changes have been made on what precincts you go to. So if you don't go to the right precinct, the last opportunity for you to vote, you have to be in the right place. So don't be double checking that either online, you'll get a card, whatever. So be sure to do that. Be sure to have your photo and signature identification, whether it's on one driver's license or on 2 different pieces. So next slide, please. Again, this is the Vote 411. All you do is you put in your address right there. And oh my goodness, so many things could show up. Next slide, please. This is what I call the reminder slide. How many of you, those of you who like to vote by mail, if you have not already applied for one, I do have a couple of paper applications, but that has to be done by the 24th. I wouldn't wait that long, but that's up to you. Next slide, please. And there we go. This is time for questions, but you guys have all been so good about asking questions as we go. I will tell you, I didn't update it for today, but I thought it interesting that since July 6th, we have registered 4,643 people as of, that was the 9/20. So I'm sure there's a little bit more. So that tells you that every one of those votes counts. Your vote counts. The vote of everybody you know who's eligible to vote counts. It's so important. And yes, it's one thing to vote, but it's also another thing to be an informed voter. And the League of Women Voters is all about that, right? And so vote 411, all that kind of stuff. I will tell you that vote411.org. Okay. So the state of Florida has published these. I picked up mine from the Millhopper Library. So I think we got something like 4,000 of these that we have distributed to all the libraries and stuff like that. I just found out this morning that we also have a local voter guide. And if I had known about them, I would have brought one for every single one of you, but we've kind of talked about them. But these are also, and if I'll try to get some to you in UCG to do that. Okay. So this has all of the local things on there. So that's a big deal. I also can, if somebody wants it, I have taken the information from Vote 411. There's quite a bit on the amendments and the local referendum, and I've put it on a PDF. So if you like to read things on PDF, because you can enlarge it, which is my thing, then I can email it to Jackie Davis, and she can email it to anybody who wants it. Now, what else do we have over here? Yeah.
One more about early voting. On election day itself, you must show up at your precinct to vote.
Mhm.
Early voting,
Yes.
you can show up at any open precinct because they print the ballot suitable for you. So, it makes it, again, much easier. Just if it's near your job, you can just go in and vote.
Okay, thank you. And that's what I love. I mean, you can live in Hawthorne and be shopping in Gainesville and have a place to go. I'll pick that up. That's okay. So here's some things. We have some swag, and basically I'm hoping you'll get swag to some of your younger voters, right? So we have I can't wait to vote stickers with our QR code. I'm so sorry to make you guys do that. And then I hope all of you will take one of these. This is the QR code and the link tree link to all things voting at our website. So if you take that and give it to anybody who wants one, keep one for yourself. It does have the actual URL if you're not a person who uses QR codes. So we have tons of these. And then, of course, we have these wonderful, we made these for young people. These are our Your Vote Matters bookmarks. I mean, I know a lot of people don't use bookmarks, but they might keep them. They might keep them and understand that it's all about the issues, right? It's all about the issues. And the more young people know, the better informed they will be, and maybe more inclined to actually get to the polls. And I thank you for your attention. Thanks so much.